This is a Lid Media presentation.
What up, everybody? It is IJ Smooth coming at you with this week's review for Power Book 3 Raising Kanan, Season 5, Episode 7. And oh my, what an episode we had! First, it starts out with Marvin in the beds looking at the ceiling. He really can't sleep. So much going on in his life right now, and he wants out and he can't sleep. Um, they stayed on this scene for a good minute or so to see the distraught look on Marvin's face or the tired look on Marvin's face because he feels like everything that they've done, all the drugs that they sold, all the people they done killed has really been for nothing. Everything that they worked for is basically it means nothing. No matter how much money they have or anything, at this point it means nothing. And too many people that he loves or had respect for has died, and it all seems for nothing. Um, Kanan breaks up with Jarita after she voiced her frustrations about what went down with Flossie. As we know, Jarita quit the hooking business with Flossie, and Kanan went in there and tried to intimidate Flossie. And basically, Kanan told Flossie that he was the one that switched the drugs um, that killed the judge. So Jarita's upset. She's scared. Kanan's not scared of none of these people, but he's built different. Jarita ain't built like that. She was really just, hooking with some rich white dudes, you know, get some weak sex from a rich white dude, make some money, be able to live how she want to live, and she thought Kanan was in love with her, and he basically said, "You never meant nothing to me." Now, I don't know if he really meant that. I think he was just mad. I don't think he meant that. But you never know with Kanan. Kanan is a mixed bag. Um, Flossie meets with Marvin and Rock and cuts ties with them. Once again, Kanan told her he switched out the drugs that ended up killing the judge, but he also told her that they knew about it, which they did find out about it, and they did not tell her. So because of that, she has cut ties with them, and the only reason per what she said they aren't dead is because of Marvin, because Marvin and Flossie had a amicable relationship, and Marvin, and Flossie kind of like each other, but I don't know if they liked each other in a relationship way. I think it was more platonic. People can talk to each other and voice frustrations about life and things that are going on, and that's basically what he did. She was like his therapist almost this season, between her and the pastor at the church. So, yeah, Marvin and Rock have been cut off from Flossie. So basically, that kills Brock's business after also losing her plug last week. And now Hasif or whatever his name is, the Afghan guy wants her dead. And the green light is put on them. Now, Garcia, after Captain Baptiste committed suicide last week, everybody has to go talk to internal affairs about the situation. Garcia goes in and talks. They tell him that there were witnesses that him and Baptiste had a conversation at his retirement party, but Garcia stood on business for Captain Baptiste. He said that, there's nothing that he can tell them, and that Captain Baptiste was a good cop, and he will never say anything bad about him as far as he's concerned, that he was a good cop and he was an even better man. Um, so they were not able to get anything out of Garcia, which I'm not mad at Garcia. Garcia know what's going on. You know what's happening out there, and he's watching all these drug dealers get filthy rich while they are supposed to stop them from getting rich and lock them up, making shit pay. It's a catch 22. It's really sad if you're a cop and you actually like your job, like, because why would you? You lock people up for a living. You get away with murder for a living. Now, the type of people that do like that work are usually pieces of shit, or they're the misguided person who actually thinks they're making a difference, that they're actually being a police officer is helping the community when it's not. So, yeah, there's that. Jukebox meets with Kanan at their usual pizza spot. And, Kanan's like, I thought you didn't fuck with me no more. And she's like, I really don't. But I thought you should know that Snaps and Pops were responsible for the death of Famous. Kanan seems not to care. Says if he was snitching, then he got what he deserved. But, you know, Kanan, I think inside does care. Nobody knows what was going on with that. We really didn't see Famous snitch. So that's what that is. Kanan seems not to care. That shows you how low Kanan is going. Kanan, don't get me wrong. Love 50 Cent, love his music. He seems like a cool guy, but the character Kanan is a piece of shit. And even though it looks cool on the screen and it's entertaining, you know, Kanan is a piece of shit. He reminds me of a guy I grew up with who was a piece of shit. Uh, the crazy part is it's just funny that the dude didn't die from being murdered in the street, but he was definitely a piece of shit. And I'm not gonna say his name, but dude was a piece of shit, and Kanan is a piece of shit. Um, Pino formally cuts ties with Rock, tells her the house is coming to collect because seems like everybody's turning their back on Rock. I mean, I understand Kanan threw a real monkey wrench in her business. Like once he killed that judge by switching out them drugs, it was up for her. And even though Rock is someone who is very resilient and ruthless in her own right, the writing's on the wall for her drug career. And that's just basically what it is. This episode, she goes around knocking on doors and trying to get work from people, but nobody's helping her. She even went to Unique's baby mom's mother's house looking for Unique to see if he wanted to, I guess, wanted to work with her because she's running out of people. And baby mom's mom told him, don't ever come back. I got a gun. I know how to use it. They have left New York and they will never be coming back. And basically, the writing's on the wall for Rock. Who knows what's going to happen with her? I think we have one more episode, but the last season's all the other seasons were 10 episodes. So we might have 2 episodes left. I mean, 3 episodes left, 8, 9, and 10. So I guess we'll find out with that. Snaps and Pops tell Breeze that he and Kanan have to take out Rock and Marvin. Breeze voices his concerns, having Kanan try to take out his own family. And it's a conversation that they have. Garcia meets with Juke and Marvin one last time and tells Marvin that witnesses say that they saw him come out of the house, but the little girl isn't changing her story, but they know it's him, but because of witnesses in the neighborhood. Um, Rock and her lawyer just end up in the office with the feds, and the feds tell them that the real estate that she sold went to someone that was being investigated by the Joint Terrorism Task Force. They try to get her to flip. She declines their offer only in the way that Rocks can, and gets up and say "fuck you." She later has a conversation with her lawyer outside and says that her broker, the guy who sold the building for her, said that there was a scheme that she was in on to launder money because she gave him a kickback for selling it fast. And the buyer purchased the building at 30% more than market value, um, which is all just a coincidence. Rock wasn't in on any scheme with these people. I don't even think she knows who the buyer is, to tell you the truth. That's the crazy part. I don't think she knows who the buyer is. Maybe I missed something, but I'm pretty sure she does not know who the buyer is. And she tells her lawyer that they're just saying that to get her to flip. She doesn't believe it. Um, Breeze and Kanan have a talk about, Rock and Marvin, and tells Kanan that he has to take out either Rock or Marvin to show that he's dedicated, per what Snaps and Pop says. Kanan says, fuck them old niggas. Him knowing that they killed his best friend and not getting any get back for it is dedication enough. tells Breeze to tell them he doesn't need to prove anything and he will do it for himself. Um, so that's where we are with that. And Marvin is in there, with all his guns, making sure he's ready and willing and ready and waiting and, loaded up and everything with his guns. And Juke walks in on him and tell him, I ain't never seen you count your guns before. And, basically tells him that everything's going bad and she can't afford to lose him. Like she's like her last heartfelt conversation with her father. Or at least that's what the scene is seeming to be. Um, Snaps and Pops run up on Kanan and they have a conversation about what he told a Breeze. And they say that they didn't have nothing to do with Famous's murder and that, he getting his information from the wrong place. Kanan don't believe him, but he don't care either, per what he's telling them. And that's basically how this conversation went. And he told them, just like he told Breeze, I'm gonna do this work. You ain't got nothing to worry about with that. Um, Marvin loads up 3 cars deep to run up on Breeze, and everybody dies. Breeze killed all them fools. He had an M16. He let loose on them fools. Marvin barely escaped with his life. He jumped up out of there. He looked around and seen niggas dying left and right. He said, okay, I'm out. Jumped in the car, rolled out. He barely escaped with his life. Um, Aisha, the on again, off again lover of Jukebox, goes to her to see her, saying that her life is in shambles. She can't think. She's in school. Her grades are failing. She loves her so much and wants to be with her, and she doesn't care about the danger. She's sitting down and she feels the gun on the couch and tells her, well, whatever you're going to do, you just need to think about it or whatever she was telling her. It was a bunch of mumbo jumbo. I don't even know why they had this scene in the show, but I guess this was the last ditch effort to get through to Juke because Aisha loves Juke. She actually went and saw Kanan as well. Both of them told her to leave. She said, I'm always getting kicked out by Thomas's. And Kanan said, it's funny that your ass ain't figured it out by now. um, After the defeat at Breeze's place, Marvin talks to Rock and tells them that the streets are not theirs anymore. And that the Afghans and the Italians are coming for them. Marvin tells Rock, has a heartfelt conversation with her and says all of the money and notoriety will never be enough to repair their hearts. And nothing can ever close that black hole that's in her heart. He said Kanan was actually her Achilles heel, that he was the black hole in her heart. And, basically is saying, hey man, it ain't worth it no more. Basically, that's what he was telling her. And Brock is like, well, all these niggas the same, everybody's the same, and Marvin's like, nah, they may be the same, but we ain't the same. And he sees it. He's been seeing it ever since Lou died. The writing is on the wall. Rock is spending this season trying to force a square peg into a round hole and is failing miserably. I don't know how her story is going to end. I don't think she dies. Per a conversation that Kanan and Juke had in OG Power, I don't think she dies, but who knows? Well, no, I think it's not Kanan and Juke, it was Kanan and Ghost. I think when Kanan got out of jail and Ghost like, hey, did you go see your mom or something? And so I don't think she dies, to tell you the truth. I think she figures out a way to live and move around. I mean, it's not like she ain't got no money. She can just move on. Like she can go somewhere. But who knows what happened with that. Uh, Snaps and Pops have a conversation with Breeze about a side business that he had with some white boys that got caught up and turned state's evidence on him. Breeze ain't sweating it. He say, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. They not trying to hear it. They fire him. They say, your services are no longer needed and you will be replaced. And Breeze like, hold up, what? I ain't the type of nigga that can be replaced. Fuck you mean? As they're walking off. Um, but that's just the game. If you're working for somebody and you're not following the rules, they might fire you. However, Snaps and Pops doesn't get fired. See, this whole time, while they were getting in their car on their way to meet with Breeze, Juke was following them. And as they're in a little tunnel type area at the park, covered like tunnel area, she draws down on them. She rolls up on them, draws down on them. She say, "You killed Famous." And it was like, here we go again with this. We ain't had nothing to do with that. And she said, "The police told me you killed him." At that point, Snaps had a little a slick grin, sort of like, "Damn, I'm caught," but still was denying that they didn't have nothing to do with it. Well, Juke wasn't trying to hear that shit. She laid them niggas down. She laid them down right there in the park. Wasn't no witnesses that we could see. And after she laid them down, she looked at them and and shot them both twice. Shot them both once again just to make sure. Like she was not leaving no stone unturned with that one. She wanted to make sure they were dead. So Snaps and Pops are dead. Um, Move forward to the next scene. Marvin is writing a letter that he puts in a briefcase full of cash, and um, it's for Juke box. He takes it to the church and told the pastor, "Hey, if something happens to me, give this to Jukebox." And the pastor was like, "Well, if this has something to do with dirty business, I don't want this in the church." You're like, "Hey, man, ain't nobody gonna, you ain't got to worry about that." And here's something right here for all of the counseling that you've been giving me. He gave him a couple big stacks of cash, and he said, "Well, this will be for ties." He said, "Hey, whatever you want it to be for, but if anything happens to this case and it don't get to my daughter, there's going to be some consequences." Not sure how that would happen if he's dead, but hey, that's what it is. So the pastor takes the briefcase and say, "Hey, I'm gonna go put this in the apartment next door for safekeeping," or whatever he said. And in walks Kanan. And Marvin is surprised. He thought it was the pastor. He said, "Pastor, you quicker than I thought you would be." And as he passes him up, he say, "What the fuck is you doing here?" And they have a conversation. He say, "Oh," Kanan has his gun, pulls out a gun. He said, "Oh, this is about me knocking your little ass around." He said, "Nah, it's deeper than that." And Marvin looks at him and says, "Can't nothing be deeper than that." And he stands up. Kanan allows him to pull out a smoke and have his last smoke, and tells Kanan that, "Hey, this one's gonna stick with you for a while, and you're gonna see me in your nightmares and this, that, and the other." And Kanan like, "Yeah, so I'll get over it." And he said, "Yeah, you probably will, but by the time you do, you'll be so low down and so ruthless that there won't be any humanity in you left." So he's smoking his cigarette and he says, "So what are we doing? We doing this or what? You just gonna stand there?" And then Kanan lights his ass up. I don't even remember how many times he shot him. I know it was like 5 or 6 times, shot him in the chest. So Kanan kills Uncle Marvin. Rest in peace, Uncle Marvin. In the church, which was crazy. And he said this was the last words or dialogue that 50 Cent, he's narrating. He says, "If you didn't hate me before, you hate me now, and I don't give a fuck." And then roll the credits. Donny Hathaway's Little Ghetto Boy starts playing. Man, he quoted Nas right there. I like that. "Hate me now." I don't know if it was really what they were going for. That's what I picked up from it. And that is the end of my review for Power, Book 3, Raising Kanan, Season 5, Episode 7. A lot of people died this episode. Snaps and Pops. I didn't see that coming. But after Kanan had his conversation with Juke and made it seem like he wasn't gonna do shit, I think that's when she made a decision that she was gonna take them out. See, Juke is the one you gotta watch. She's quiet. Nothing is more sneakier than a quiet killer, and that's exactly what she is. She's a quiet killer. She don't make a big fuss. If she gonna do something, she does it. Love Jukebox. Her character. I wonder if they show how she becomes a cop because she is a cop in OG Power. So I guess the last 3 episodes, maybe the last episode, they show her going to the police academy or some shit. Who knows? However, we know that Ghost and Tommy may show up last episode. I'm assuming at this point. They don't really have much to do because this really ain't their story, or it really isn't their story. And more than likely, they might show up last episode, and then their show, Power Origins, will be next. I believe. I believe their show is next month. I could be wrong. Maybe in September. I think it's in September because the way Power works, from what I've been noticing the last few years, there is a summer show and then there is a show in the fall. And I think last fall was the Force, the season finale of the last season of Force. So I could be wrong. It could have been the beginning of this year, but I believe that was last fall, kind of like they're doing now. So I think we get 2 seasons a year. Um, and I know we got Power Origins next, and then whatever the show is going to be with Tommy and Tariq. I don't remember the name of it, but that's what's next for Power after Raising Kanan is over, because this is the last season of Raising Kanan. So with that being said, Jay Smooth is signing off, reminding everybody to shut up and PTFO. Because regardless if it's lit media or lit gaming, we got to keep our eyes on the prize. So I'm out until next week, and we'll see you next week. Look out for lit gaming. Look out for my live streams on TikTok, or YouTube. I went back to YouTube the other day, but until I'm able to get a stream key for TikTok, I'm gonna be in TikTok probably most of my time because I have to use TikTok Studio. But other than that, y'all have a wonderful rest of y'all day or evening, and remember to shut up and PTFO. I'm out.
This has been a Lit Media presentation, brought to you in part by Lit Gaming.